Knowing ensembles, getting in touch with ensembles, a lot of times, and this is something almost every composer will tell you, from someone who is just starting out to the most successful composers in the country. And in fact, we did an interview with one of the most successful composers in the country that's up in New Music Box this month, the month of October 2005, and that's Joan Tower. One of the most successful composers, is with a top publisher, has recordings out, and she just wrote this piece, this commission, an orchestra piece for community orchestras called Made in America. And it's a 15-minute piece, and it's being done in all 50 states. This is the first time this has ever happened. And, that's pretty successful. And she's won the Grawemeyer Award, which is one of the largest prizes, monetary and honorific prizes you can win as a composer. She said, students are always asking me, how do I get my music out there? I said, who do you know? Who are your friends who play music? Do you play yourself? You play, don't write a piece for a group that you don't have access to if you want your music to get heard. If you don't know a brass quintet, why write a brass quintet? I want to write a brass quintet because it's a wonderful sound. I've been listening to some brass quintets, and I love the sound, and there are some weird things I want to do within that idea. But I'm going to do it when I find the players who I know will want to do it. There are ways to meet musicians, to be connected to organizations. There's Chamber Music America, a national service organization for chamber musicians and ensembles. And the ensembles show up. They have a yearly conference. A couple of years ago, I noticed at the conference there were all these players that were together in wind quintets. And they were so eager to hear about new music for wind quintets. And I thought, gee, I ought to write a wind quintet. And I did. And 2 different ensembles have done it. And it was kind of a crazy wind quintet. It's a wind quintet using quarter tones. If it was not as crazy a wind quintet, perhaps 5 or 10 ensembles would have done it by now. It's like what I was saying earlier about the symphonic wind band. That's a community that is really eager to play new music. Yeah, there are certain kinds of things that you can do within that framework, and certain things that probably are not as easy to do. Choruses. There are tons of choruses out there looking for music, or form your own ensemble. Among the most successful composers in America today, I would have to count Philip Glass and Steve Reich. They started their own ensembles. They couldn't get the big orchestras to play their music, and maybe now, and in fact now you'd talk to them, Steve Reich wouldn't even want the major orchestras to play his music because he has very set ideas about how he wants his music to be, and the format doesn't always translate into the way rehearsals work with a symphony orchestra, the number of players that are involved, the kind of sounds that you can get versus the kind of sounds he wants to get. So, I would say form your own ensemble, befriend musicians. Obviously, don't befriend them with the agenda, oh, I'm going to befriend this person because he'll play my music. And people could see through that. Be a person. Oh, maybe this is where I get to do this. Be a person. Being a composer is being a part of society. And there was a long time, there was the myth of the ivory tower composer, and that myth has taken a long time to die. And the myth, in point of fact, is really not true in a lot of levels, because even composers who are at universities, they're part of communities at that university. They're interacting. They're doing more than just sitting at a desk composing. They're interacting with students. They're nurturing the next generation of composers. They're often teaching classes other than composition, so they are the representatives, the ambassadors to new music for people who might have never heard this work, who are going to college and they're taking an introductory music course and they're learning about new music through this person. So, there's no man is an island. I mean, that's the big cliche, but it's true. Even though we stand here in the middle of Manhattan Island saying this. We're all part of a community, and composers are part of that community too.